This is modern India, the most populous country in the world. It took 31 years to build a $3.5 trillion economy, and today, India is the fifth largest economy in the world. Only the United States, China, Germany, and Japan are ahead of it. Every year, more and more software, medicines, cars, and movies are produced here. More and more oil is flowing here. But does this mean that India will become the most powerful country in the world? Today, in 10 minutes, I'll tell you what makes India unique, what India's economy depends on, how India is standing up to China, and how Delhi history differs from Beijing. Hello! This is the backside of India, which is not covered in any travel guide. Let's go! This is what India's GDP development looks like over the past 25 years. Impressive, isn't it? But if you look at the country's GDP per capita, today India is actually still a poor country at the level of Morocco and Uzbekistan. Yet despite this, many experts consider India's economy to be the most promising in the world. How did this happen? Because until recently, India was not independent and was a colony. Let's play a game. Whose colony do you think India was? Spain, Great Britain, Portugal, or Italy? The correct answer is Britain. And a few years ago, India overtook the economy of its former masters, Britain. How did they do it? Let's turn our guide a few pages back. So after World War II, India became independent from the British Empire on August 15, 1947. Along with independence, India got a whole bunch of problems: ethnic, religious, and state conflicts. So what happened? Let me try to explain. The former colony was divided into India and Pakistan. Muslims wanted to go to Pakistan, Hindus to India. One of the states that wanted to join Pakistan, not India, was Junagadh, and India, as it usually happens, forced them to return to it. But in the regions of Jammu and Kashmir, the situation was exactly the opposite. Muslims lived there despite the fact that the local government wanted India to take over. As a result, these lands have remained disputed for 75 years, and there is a constant war between India and Pakistan over them. As a result of ethnic conflicts, 1 million people will die and another 13 million will be displaced. So the country has many internal problems, constant conflicts, and a war with Pakistan. And the country is led by a planned economy, which, as we know from the history of Poland and other socialist countries, can be very destructive for a country. This happened because for a long time, India has been very closely involved with the Soviet Union. But after the collapse of the Soviet Union, drastic changes took place within India. In the early 90s, India was on the verge of default and the country needed decisive steps. In 1991, India began to implement reforms, better known as the New Economic Policy. The main motive of the reforms was to liberalize the economy, rely on the service sector, and attract foreign investment. And it worked. Indeed, since 2014, India has been in the top 10 countries for attracting foreign capital. They have created more attractive conditions for foreign investment, and this has helped to take high places in such industries as medicine, software, and hardware. It is the service sector, as well as telecommunications, education, retail, and others, that are the backbone of India's economy. This share is 54% of GDP. Such reforms have had a significant impact on the Indian economy. Here is a small example that demonstrates this. Between 2016 and 2022, the number of Indians living in extreme poverty decreased from 126 million to 15 million. And if we look at a longer time interval, this figure has fallen by almost 400 million over the past 30 years. But what does India's economy depend on today? Let's move on to the next section. As I said, the service sector is the mainstay of India's economy. But what is its share in the global market? Here's a quick question for you. How many of the world's 500 largest companies do you think use Indian software? 50? 100? 185? 300? The correct answer is 185. This is more than a third. Indeed, the IT industry is very much developed in India. It now has almost 5 million IT professionals in the country, and it continues to grow. In 2009, about 5% of Indians, or about 60 million people, had access to the internet. And in 2022, there were already about 790 million of them, which is 57% of the population. It all starts with the city of Bangalore. It is the third most populous city in India after Delhi and Mumbai. This city used to be exclusively engaged in military developments, and today it is called the Indian Silicon Valley. All local startups are born here, and Google, Microsoft, Adobe, SAP, and others will open their offices here. In 1981, one of the richest companies today, Infosys, was founded in Bangalore with a startup capital of just $250. Today, it is worth about $80 billion. In the 90s, after the company built India's first campus for programmers, people from all over the country began to come here in search of education and work. And in the 2000s, Indian startups began to emerge here. Today, Bangalore is one of the 6 unicorn capitals. These are companies that started from scratch and are now worth more than $1 billion. Infosys has a legal staff of about 230,000 people. It is also worth mentioning the company Deloitte, with a staff of about 300,000 employees, which operates in 150 countries, or Tata Consultancy, with a market value of $169 billion. The pharmaceutical industry is also interesting. Today, India accounts for 20% of the world's supply, and India is also one of the largest centers of jewelry production. This industry accounts for 7% of GDP. Many people compare India's path to that of modern China, but there is a significant difference. China once chose a path that attracted a large amount of Western investment using cheap labor. India has chosen a different path. It is taking the lead in more complex industries, such as software, pharmaceuticals, and spare parts. This is due to the fact that the country has many educated people and many who speak English. Unlike China, where the share of industry ranges from 22 to 28%, in India it is only 13% and has been declining for several years. On the other hand, the service market is growing every year. 50% of investments are in the service sector. India's main competitor in this region is China. That is why it is trying to get the Central Asian countries under its influence. On the one hand, China clearly has more money and technology, and it promises to buy more food from these countries. It promises to build gas pipelines, oil pipelines, and modern roads. But there is one but. All Central Asian countries profess Islam. And of course, they know how local Muslims are treated in China and what repressions are carried out against those who disagree with the party's policy. And in India, there are many more Muslims, and it can be more understandable and familiar. India can also be more understandable and related to Western countries. It is the second country in the world in terms of the number of English-speaking people. And it is precisely on these English-speaking and educated people that India will rely in due course. India's economy continues to grow every year. But are there any factors that can prevent it from doing so? Of course there are. First, let's understand how India is organized. One of the pillars of Indian society is the caste system. The caste system has been a general concept for more than 3,000 years. The caste system was officially abolished in 1950, but it continued to exist. Marriage of different caste groups is still an unusual and almost impossible phenomenon in Indian society. There is also a residential separation of caste groups. A vivid example of poor conditions is that 37% of families from the highest castes live in one-room apartments, and most of them have 5 or more people in the family. This caste system is the basis of many of the problems in Indian society. Another major problem in India is the dual structure of its economy. The main sector of the economy, the service sector, employs only 2% of workers, but the agricultural sector employs 40% of all workers and remains the main sector in the country. Another problem, which also stems from the caste system, is that India has virtually no middle class in the Western sense. Its absence is holding back the country's future development. The share of large companies is small, about 10%, while in China, 52% of enterprises are large. We should also note the problems in infrastructure, which is underdeveloped. But will India be able to become a superpower despite all the problems? Let's move on to the next section. First though, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss interesting stories about other countries. The best way to support the channel is to like this video. Thank you. Awesome. India's economy has already grown by 8% this year, and the stock market is the fourth largest in the world after Japan, the United States, and China. The driving factor for further growth may be the IT industry and the replacement of China as the world's main factory. There are plans to invest $700 million in the production of spare parts for iPhones and electric vehicles in India, although their largest enterprise was previously located in China. Samsung is also thinking about relocating its facilities to India. According to forecasts, Apple may turn India into the largest iPhone production center by 2025 as it gradually reduces its dependence on China. Walmart is also looking to increase the presence of Indian companies in its online marketplace in the US and Canada. Walmart hopes to export $10 billion worth of goods from India by 2027. An important factor that can support these pillars of development is India's young population. About 65% of the country's population is under 35 years old. The country plans to break down stereotypes about women and involve them in work and leadership. The average age in India is 28 years, compared to 38 in China and 48 in Japan. Today, India has the largest population in the world, but this is not the limit. According to various forecasts, in 2100, there will be 2 to 3 times more Indians than Chinese. And this is definitely a significant factor for the country's future development. Can India really become an important player in the global market and push its main competitor, China? We'll have to see. What do you think? Write in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you like it, please click the button. See you later.